Story Beneath the Veil of Prosperity, Chapter 1, Whispers in the Grid. In the heart of the city, where neon signs cast a perpetual daylight over sleepless streets, Adrian Carter hurried along the crowded sidewalk. The air was thick with the hum of life and the scent of fast food, a blend of grease and sweetness masking something much darker. Adrian's mind was a whirlwind of deadlines and headlines, but today, a new urgency pulled at his thoughts. Adrian's mother, vibrant and full of life, had been reduced to a shadow of herself overnight. Doctors baffled, her illness danced around a diagnosis, defying medical logic and sowing seeds of fear. It was said to be one of those rare conditions, coincidental, but Adrian didn't believe in such coincidences. The more he delved into his research, the more a pattern emerged, a disturbing tapestry woven through the lives of countless unsuspecting citizens. Sliding into the gritty confines of Rudy's Cafe, Adrian met Derek, a rogue chemist introduced through a mutual acquaintance. They exchanged a nod, and Adrian knew this meeting could be the spark to ignite something far larger than himself. With a clatter of cups and the hiss of the espresso machine, they settled into a booth cloaked in shadows. "What you're looking into is dangerous," Derek began, his voice low but firm, as though someone might be listening, even here. "The FDA isn't the institution people think it is anymore. They've got connections, alliances with companies you wouldn't dream of being involved in this." Adrian leaned in closer, his fingers gripping a pen, ready to note every word. "I need to know how they're doing it, how the food is linked to the illnesses." Derek pushed a folder across the table. "Pesticides, additives, enhancers. They've changed compounds, but not labels, breeding a new spectrum of health problems we're only beginning to understand. And people just keep eating, unwittingly dosing themselves day by day." Their conversation painted a chilling picture, a nation unknowingly drugging itself into submission, hooked on prescriptions that were solutions to ailments spun out of the very sustenance they relied upon. Adrian's heart pounded with each revelation, anger and determination swelling with every sordid claim. Derek eyed the door, his unease palpable. "You're asking for trouble, Adrian, but if you're decided, there's someone else you need to meet." Searching Derek's face for any flicker of doubt, Adrian only found resolve mirroring his own. "Who?" "Claire Montoya. Works inside the FDA, or at least she used to. If anyone can give you the evidence you need, it's her." As they parted ways, Adrian clutched the folder like a lifeline. Outside, the city roared on, oblivious to the insidious war being waged in its midst. But Adrian was no longer just a journalist. He was on a mission to unmask the poison pulsing beneath the guise of prosperity. Chapter 2, Secrets Among Friends. A flickering street lamp cast Claire Montoya in a film noir-esque shadow as she approached the agreed meeting spot. Her every step was cautious, eyes scanning for threats hidden in the mundane. Once a dedicated FDA insider, she now found herself allies with an investigative journalist and a chemist, both strangers only a few weeks ago. Adrian's voice echoed in her mind, his story of loss, too familiar, too relatable to brush aside. They had chosen a dimly lit stretch of park far from the city's prying eyes and ears. The moonlight fought through the canopy, just enough to illuminate the path and their purpose. Claire's nerves were strung taut with anticipation and fear. She had seen things that haunted her waking hours. She carried papers, files, evidence undeniable but damning. Trust was scarcer than truth in her world, but she's been drawn to Adrian's sincerity, a rare beacon in this murky era. "You did well even showing up," Adrian said quietly, stepping forward from the shadows. She nodded. "This isn't just about an unchecked corporation, Adrian. It's a network, a machine. Programs marked for better health, grants under the guise of wellness improvement. All smoke screens." The dossier in her hands felt heavier than she'd ever imagined. Within its pages were the stepping stones to a labyrinth of deceit, a chronology of decisions and bribery that had twisted an institution's purpose from safeguarding health to safeguarding profits. "There were whisper sessions," Claire continued, her brow furrowed with the weight of her memories. "Meetings where higher-ups spoke freely behind closed doors, believing loyalty was guaranteed by paychecks. But it was all about the next drug, the next breakthrough, that half the time came with its own new set of side effects." Adrian sifted through the papers, scanning notes and charts, product timelines and confidential reports that laid bare the FDA's dark underbelly. His breath caught in his throat as the enormity of it all sank in. How do we prove this to the world? How do we make them see what's hidden beneath this veil? Claire hesitated, her voice a whisper. There's someone else, a hacker, someone who can get us into the digital fortress where they store the things they'd rather we never find out. Adrian nodded slowly, absorbing the implication of her words. A hacker could turn the tide, accessing records that were beyond their reach. If these documents could be linked with digital evidence, their story would become indisputable. His name's Theo, she added, and he's as elusive as they come. But if he chooses to help us, he can get us what no journalist or insider could: real, undeniable proof. Story the park, silent and dim, seemed to lean in, the trees themselves listening to the conspiracy unfolding beneath their branches. An alliance was forming, unlikely and fragile, but bound by an unyielding commitment to justice. We meet Theo, Adrian said, his voice strong with the clarity of purpose his mother's suffering had instilled in him. And then we bring all of this into the light. Chapter 3. Into the Shadows. Days later, Claire led Adrian to a nondescript building on the fringe of the city. Its exterior was drab and uninviting, blending seamlessly into the nondescript monotony of an industrial area long forgotten by the city's expansion. Inside, however, the place buzzed with an undeniable energy, chaotic yet orchestrated. Theo was waiting. Cloaked in the glow of computer monitors, his figure was lean, almost spectral, as if he belonged more to the digital realm than the physical world. His fingers danced over a keyboard, the rhythm of his work punctuated by the quiet hum of machinery. It's not about just hacking into files, Theo said without looking up, as if he could sense their presence behind him. It's about finding the thread. Every digital step they've taken leaves a trace. We pull at the right one, and the whole damn tapestry can unravel. Claire and Adrian exchanged a glance, each silently acknowledging the hope in Theo's confident assertion. We need access to the FDA's restricted servers, anything tied to recent policy changes, rerouted funds, any correspondence with the pharmaceutical companies, Claire began, laying out a roadmap in her mind that Theo was best equipped to follow. Theo nodded, his fingers flying over the keys, opening portals to virtual corridors few dared tread. Already on it. But remember, entry is only the first challenge. Once inside, I'll need to dodge more defenses built around those files. If we get what we need, it'll be enough to knock this scandal wide open. Under Theo's deft control, the digital world yielded secrets hidden beneath layers of code, revealing memos and transaction logs, contracts bound in legal jargon that deceptively tethered public officials to their corporate puppeteers. Adrian's heart raced. With every new revelation, his vision of an America under siege by its trusted institutions crystallized. They were close, closer than anyone had ever dared come to dismantling the facade of prosperity draped over a nation's complicity in its own suffering. Once we've got it, Theo mused, as if thinking aloud, the challenge will be how to release it. Broadcast media is owned by the same sponsors tied to these companies. We'd need a platform outside conventional reaches. Somewhere, the truth cannot be silenced. Ideas sparked between them, forming links in a developing strategy. An anonymous release through encrypted platforms, academic publications, or perhaps the underground networks that already flourished in defiance of corporate domination. Story, however we do it, it has to be soon, Adrian insisted, feeling time slipping like sand through his fingers. If we wait too long, they'll find out someone's onto them, and then none of us are safe. As they plotted the next move, the importance of secrecy weighed down on their shoulders. They couldn't afford mistakes, not when the lives of millions depended on their success. Chapter 4. The Shatterpoint news flowed through the underground channels, reaching their network with alarming speed. The conglomerates, sensing their grip weakening, had accelerated an agenda to ensure continued compliance. Tougher controls on healthcare, tighter regulations, conveniently beneficial to proprietary pharmaceuticals. Rumors of legislation that would make future whistleblowing even harder floated on undercurrents of grim conversation. Every acute development reaffirmed Adrian's decision, validating the urgency in their mission. They needed to move quickly, decisively, and within time to expose their findings before irreversible damage could entrench itself further. In the dim glow of Claire's apartment, the triad, Adrian, Claire, and Theo, assembled to synchronize their plan. The room was sparse but filled with taut energy, the air electrified with a shared anticipation. "The files are ready," Theo announced, his eyes gleaming with the thrill of the digital hunt. "I've tracked every breadcrumb, annotated every dubious directive, stored in a cloud protected by layers of encryption." Adrian nodded, his gaze shifting to Claire. "And the evidence you brought, paper trails and connections, it's all corroborating. They can't bury this once it's out." Claire exhaled, a mix of relief and tension. "But we must be the ones to strike first. If we get caught, this whole narrative becomes nothing more than delusional paranoia." They detailed every step, backing up their evidence across multiple servers, ready to flood the network with a tidal wave of undeniable truth. Yet as plans solidified, doubt nibbled at the edges of their resolve. Would exposure be enough? Could the weight of undeniable proof surmount the deeply entrenched system of control? "Once it's out there, it'll catch like wildfire," Adrian asserted, his belief steadfast. "The public won't sit idly by. People deserve to know, and they will fight back." The moment came swiftly. In the dead of night, under the veil of secrecy, their files were uploaded to encrypted forums, disseminated through platforms shielded from corporate meddling. Carefully crafted messages accompanied the dumps, clarifications of evidence, pleas for justice, calls for accountability. Almost immediately, ripples began coursing through the network. Anonymous activists and investigative platforms seized the information, broadcasting it in a digital age of enlightenment that government and Big Pharma could never stifle. The true face behind the corrupted mask of prosperity was bared for all to see. Chapter 5: Revelations and Resilience. Story news outlets were forced to acknowledge the groundswell, waves of citizen protests swelling across cities, demanding transparency, calling for justice. The once unperturbed towers of power quaked as legislative bodies reeled from the outcry of constituents who could no longer stomach the betrayal. Adrian watched it unfold from the confines of a safe house, a mixture of triumph and exhaustion etching his features. Messages of solidarity poured in from all corners, as the movement swelled with voices of those who, like him, had suffered and lost, but were ready to reclaim their nation's health and future. Claire remained vigilant and hopeful, aware their journey was far from over. The revelation of truth was only the beginning, a crack in the icy veneer of systemic exploitation with much healing yet to transpire. And Theo, though still riding the adrenaline high of digital revolution, knew that battles still loomed on the horizon, a continued fight to protect the integrity of information in a world where secrecy and deception had long held sway. As the days slipped by, change began moving from a distant dream to an emerging reality. Judicial inquiries were sparked, people were held accountable, and reforms took root, nurtured by an empowered public refusing to return to passivity. Together, Adrian, Claire, and Theo stood vigilant as custodians of a truth unearthed. Their undertaking had forged something profound, a bond unyielding to adversity, an alliance born under duress but steeled by shared purpose. In them was the embodiment of resistance, a testament to the power of unity and determination in the face of overwhelming odds. Beneath the veil of prosperity had been a harrowing but necessary journey, unraveling the sinister tapestry of control, courageously championing the spirit of resilience, and embracing the indomitable force of citizens united against oppressive darkness. As dawn broke over a nation ready to reclaim its autonomy, Adrian knew his mother's story. Her struggle had served as a catalyst for change, her legacy a beacon showing the way to a new dawn above the mists of corruption. The path ahead was fraught with new challenges, but it was a path brightly illuminated by the unwavering spirit of those who dared to stand when it mattered most. It was the beginning of a future reclaimed, prosperity redefined not by control, but by freedom and truth.